Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to Chart Prime Friday class. So today we're gonna be taking a look at what's going on in the markets. Everything is dumping. Everything is going bad. Well, we're gonna be looking for some support areas. We were expecting that movement not only on Bitcoin but also on some other altcoins. We're gonna be visiting those alerts that we've been hitting, and we could be going for some bouncing to the upside, to the dynamic reactor, some other areas. But let's get it, guys, because there is a lot to talk about. By the way, numbers or everything that is driving this are new tariff packages from the US, and job numbers not playing out at all as they were expected. Not only that, the revisions they were much worse right after. So a lot of jobs being lost. But maybe some good news is that we are looking at some rate cuts on the upcoming to September. So we'll see how those go. But in the meantime, we'll take a look at some bouncing zones. All right, let me just get my stuff up and ready. And also, let me change some options in here. Please give me 1 second. All right, we got it much better. All right, perfect. Hey, Daga, how's it going, my friend? Welcome, guys. Great to have you around. So, pattern analytics, how is it going? Oh, he disconnected. All right. So, hey, guys. Hey, Hanai Perry, what's up, bro? How is it going, my friend? And who else as veteran is in here? Let me know if I skip you there. Today, I scoped the crap out of BTC and had one small loss. Absolutely great 4K next profit in 10 hours. That is fantastic. That is a fireball right there. Oh, awesome. All right. So let's take a look at a couple of things that we were looking to maybe dump. One of those was Sui. Well, then it is following here. Remember the next step. Let me make this big for you guys in the recording. There we go. Right now, we're looking for areas of some support. How we can see that is because we're almost there with the flip of the ribbon. We have some overbought signals in here, overbought boxes. And well, then remember, it's not about your breakout. It's about your retest. There we go. And that is the retest that we are expecting, right? Also, other areas of support somewhere around down here. So maybe we can come back up and then come back down. Let's take a look at our indicators in here. So for example, right there, we have the equilibrium zone. Equilibrium usually is a ranging zone. What else do we have? Some smart money entries. Yes, we do. That's exactly where we set up our alert right before that smart money entry, just to compensate for maybe just a little delay that we might have. Remember that this is the 4-hour chart, so we have 4 hours per candle. Anything else that we might have in here? Well, something interesting had happened. We are almost breaking our purple line. This is important. Once we break the purple line, we're gonna be making a new set of lines. And what happens with those set of lines? Well, last time we broke the purple line, we went to find the blue line. Last time that we broke the purple line, in most of the cases, we go and find the blue line. Well, then those really went very nice there. All right, so another one, we broke in here, and what happens? Yes, we bounced, but we went to find the blue line. So as you can see, it doesn't mean that we cannot retrace. In fact, we look for a retracement, but looking for that blue line ultimately. So that's exactly what we're gonna be looking for. All right. So let me bring this up. All right. Where is going to be appearing my blue line after we break our predictive ranges? I have another predictive range in here, which is showing, this is the daily predictive ranges, which is showing that we're losing the golden line. All right. When we lose the golden line, what else we go find? You guessed it, the blue line. All right, so looking a little bit bearish on Sui, and also we have an interest zone right here. So areas for possible re-entries on Sui 3.35. 5. Let's get started now with Bitcoin. All right, let's go to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is just not moving that bad at all. In fact, we were looking for a possible entry right above this area right here. We haven't had an entry just yet, as you can see. We're waiting for that bouncing zone, but maybe we'll need to come back into and revise this position as we have some flip of the ribbon. Depending on that flip of the ribbon, most likely we're going to continue downwards. So we'll need to be careful with this entry from yesterday. All right. Other things in here, guys. I don't want to be the bear in the room. All right. But hey, what's up, little fish? What's up, here? Welcome, guys. Welcome. Gustats 2, you raise your hand. You want to come up and speak? Let me know on the side chat if that is what you intended. Yeah. All right, so let's take a look at here. I don't want to be the bear in Bitcoin, but we haven't had just what we were expecting, which is a comeback up and breaking through that range. In fact, we are going lower, which, by the way, is one of the things that I've been just preaching over and over and over, especially, there we go, on yesterday's session. This is what I'm expecting out of Bitcoin. All right, where am I getting these candles from? Well, this is just a copycat right of this section because we're having the same pattern. Little shoulder, big shoulder, little shoulder, big shoulder, a hump. And then we have a range, and then finally we have some sweep of the lows. All right, and where am I calculating for those sweep of the lows to play it out? Well, we got it right here. First off, we have the 113 area. That is because we have a break on these two big candles. Going to daily, we are having right here a fair value gap right in here. So you have a fair value gap indicator, by the way, so you can go use it. And then at the center of that fair value gap, that's where we have our alert. If you look at this, look at that, how precise our calculation was in there. Very, very, very close. Another thing that we're having in there, let me bring this up. There we go. It is a smart money entry running here. And of course, running there. So what are we doing? We're taking the average of those. So somewhere around here. So as you can see, I don't really care to move my alert a little bit higher or lower. It is not meant to be as precise, but it's meant to be giving me a previous alert before I jump in. Remember, I am trading the 4 hours. That means that I have still 4 hours to hit it off. So can we check Solana? Yeah, absolutely. We can check Solana. Let me just finish up with this and we'll go over Solana. Bearish under 102, POC at 146. Oh, got it. Thank you, my friend, for that. Dagger DT. All right, so what's up next? We're dumping. All right, it's not about the breakout, it's about the retest. We need to look for some support. Right now we're having some liquidity sweep in here, so we need to see if that is going to be long lasting. If that is, we are going to keep coming out to the dynamic reactor, and then we need to see how we're doing on our oscillator. If we're piercing through that zero line, most likely we're going to come back up and then continue our way up. If we reject out of that, which I think that is going to happen, we're going to be going much lower. How low? Well, we already have our setup in here at 113 and then the next one at 110. This is just not the end of the story. Let me zoom out a little bit in here. Because if we take a look at where our support zones are on daily, look at where we got in here. A big area of support. Where is our dynamic reactor coming in? Somewhere around here. And then also we have our big megaphone line at the bottom, right around the same zone. Look at that, 107, 106, 108, somewhere around here. All right, so we need to be very careful because if we start breaking some supports, we might be able to come and visit the dynamic reactor as we have done many other times. All right, let's go back in time and watch that. For example, right here, we see that as we break out, right, and then we go up, we range, we go visit dynamic reactor. We are ranging, guys, and we are right now breaking through that range. So hitting that dynamic reactor daily, it is in the table. Once again, we're ranging, we go visit dynamic reactor, and then we bounce out of it, right? And so on and so forth. So take into consideration these targets might keep you safer. All right, other than that, let's take a look at a couple of other things before we go to Solana, because Solana is just like Link and Nita. We'll take a look at that. Ethereum is playing out way much better than I was expecting. Hashtag F Ethereum still, but look at that. We have our money flow POC, which is this red line right here, at running somewhere around 3,500. In fact, that's what I set on my alert, but I'm gonna moving it a little bit higher because that POC has moved on me a little bit. So I need to adjust it based on the new data that I have. All right. And what am I looking at Ethereum on the daily, or looking at Ethereum on the 4 hours? That is because we have a very steep area coming up to the dynamic reactor. Look at that. We have a big area of support and we have a liquidity zone. We are building up, or we have a lot of support in here. So having a bounce would be critical, and I think will be very, very, very possible, especially now that we could be making maybe a double bottom with that bounce up. So keep your eyes on Ethereum. Now let's jump to ADA and Link, and finally to Solana. Why am I putting ADA and Link first? All right, sorry about that. That is because we already have an analysis on them. Not only we had an analysis, it also is playing out the same thing as Solana. And well, then what do we predict in those? Let's take a look at here. Let's start with ADA. ADA coming back down, right? How far? Well, for the worst case scenario, somewhere around 57. But so far, there has been no mercy. Remember, we talked about that dead cat bounce and then losing the dynamic reactor. What happened? We lost that dynamic reactor, breakout, retest, continuation to the downside. In fact, there it is. Breakout, retest, continuation to the downside. Are we there yet on a support zone? Not quite. I basically just re-added this this alert, and that is because we have our VPVR and also our POC right in here. This is a bouncing zone, and we almost nailed it. What I'm looking in here is to maybe get back in here to create some sweep of the lows, and then if we bounce and we break the trend line that we have going on in here, that is where I'm gonna be looking for an entry. In the meantime, look at my next areas right here in between two areas of smart money entry at 0.68, and finally right here, and that is because, let me bring it up, we have a big order block right down here at 0.62. All right, so those are the areas that I'm looking into, but so far going low with no mercy. Are we able to maybe get a bounce? Yes, but guys, today is Friday. All right, what does that mean? That means that we're jumping into the weekend. What does weekend means in terms of volume? Low volume. So if we have low volume throughout the weekend, well, do not expect some magical movements. Can they happen? Yeah, absolutely. But are we certain? No, especially not now that we're having some like bad numbers in the market. All right. So any bounces that we could be looking into the weekend, be careful. Take them as a limited scalping zone. Right now, we are bearish. We are below dynamic reactor and we are below the zero line. Bearish, bearish, bearish. Where do we enter for longs? When we find some support. Where do we exit? At resistances. And then when do we enter for shorts? Again, at resistances. So take that into consideration. Let's go finally and take a look at Solana. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Not only that, it actually played us dirty last time that we were in here. Why? Because remember, we had our dynamic reactor in here, and despite I was expecting some bottoming pattern, all right, we did had it right around here with a big wick downwards, breaking off the trend line, perfect. And then what was the next step? And we actually called it off on the 30 minutes. We were looking for a bounce on this zone. What happened on that zone? We failed it. We had, yes, some goose head, very weird goose head. I do remember calling that out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And also we had some bullish divergences on the 30 minutes. What happened here? Well, then we went up to the resistance, to dynamic reactor, very close, very close. And then, well, where is it? Come on. Where are you? There we go. And then we hit our money flow POC and we rejected strongly. So I was actually looking into this support and this support for this trend line, but we just went through like butter, like hot knife through butter. All right. So far, the exact same analysis. What are we looking up here? If you want to trade the lower time frames, we already have a sweep of the lows. We have a swing failure pattern. What else we need to be looking into? We were looking into a trend line, but also not discarding this other trend line in here. All right. What does that mean? We need to first break the trend line, put down a higher low, and then hold this zone to then go back up. Do we have the means for that? Well, we have smart money zones in here. So yes, we could be making that higher low. Are we on that zone right now? Yes, we could still make some ranging and then break out a continuation. But once again, we are jumping into the weekend. Do we have anything else? Yes, we have broken our predictive ranges. And once we break our predictive ranges, what do we go to look for? We look for the blue line. The blue line is right there next to this order block. So it makes sense that we go and hit this off. What happens when we hit that off? We are going to be on important highs. That is important. Yes, of course, that's why it's an important high, right? That is a meaningful high and important high. But then we need to put a important or meaningful low. What would that meaningful low be? Well, not a lower low because we're looking for a long, of course, or a reversal, but we're going to be looking for a higher low, all right? Something around these zones. So possible areas of entry, if you're looking into it, 30 minutes, 166. But again, that will depend on the rest of the market, and we are on weekends. So most likely we're not going to hold. We're going to make one more movement to the downside. Where is our next target? Right in here. If you want to use one of my best indicators, let's go to the 4 hours. Well, it's not mine, right? But I use it. It is, let me show it to you right here, the volume profile bar magnifier. And I've shown this for my Hail Mary targets. Let me turn it on and see if it shows me anything. Well, at this point, it doesn't until all the way down to 143. So I'm still going to be adding that alert, and I'm going to be looking for that. On the 4 hours, if you want to trade the 4 hours, I think that will be a much better played out here because we are in the weekends. We can be expecting low volume. Therefore, if we're going to be going lower, right, and look at where our other line was, right in here, the purple line of the 30 minutes, it also coincides with our purple line of right now, but also very, very, very close to our huge high order block right down here. So what I'm thinking is breaking through same areas in here, trying to get to dynamic reactor, not making it, going through this order block because it is a soft order block, and then going to this high order block in here, and finally looking or having that bounce that we are expecting to the upside. So my next area of entry in the 4 hour could be a 157 if you're doing Binance, by the way. All right, but at the end of it all, I'm looking at my oscillator. My oscillator is going to be determining whether if I'm going to be bouncing or not. How is going to be determining that? First, I want to have a flip of the ribbon at some support. If I have that, I can at least scalp it to the next resistance, all right? To do something like this. And then take profit 50% out, and then I leave 50% in just in case we are piercing through. If we start piercing through the zero line, I hold it. Most likely we're gonna go past the next resistance, and most likely we're gonna get above once again. Let me show you a little trick in here now that we're going to the weekend, so you don't get as scared as we move. Like for example, right in here. Let's zoom a little bit in and let's concentrate on our oscillator. In fact, let's do our oscillator much bigger. Right here, what I want to look for are gonna be voids. Are gonna be voids in my oscillator. That's how my brain works. But if your brain works the other way around, by the way, that is completely fantastic. That's cool. If it works the other way around, you might be looking for not voids, but confluence or gathering, right? Or bunching up of your oscillator. Like for example, here, right? For me, it's much easier to find voids. I don't know why. And then out of the void, I can see where the thing is concentrated, all right? So I'm gonna be looking at these areas and mark them. Let's use this vertical line as we broke above. And by the way, I also look at this V-shaped recovery. So this actually started here. And this was just a fake out. Perfect. And then where do I go for? The next one right here when I have another big void with a fake out, and then it ended up in there. You see that? So what can I infer out of this? And this is going to be very important, guys. It's going to be one of the easiest strategies that you can ever learn, right? So as long, and let me just do this just for, there we go, just for sake of whoever is not used to this. All right, as I have bunching up at the top, this is bullish. And the price should be going up, right? So up, up, and right here up till where? Till we lost it right there. And then if it's bunching out below, the price should be going low, and that's gonna be it, maybe low, right? Or ranging. So now that we have not yet looked at this, let's just make this small. And what happened in here? Look at that. Where would the price should be going? Up. Where it started, where it ended up, it went up. The little dip went downwards. Up, up above, up. Down below, low. You see that? Yeah, every time frame. Gare, based on your question, I infer that you're new in here. Let me give you a little secret. And by the way, there's a lot of questions like this, right? So, yes, it always plays in every time frame. Why? Because we trade concepts in here. So this is how volume moves, right? Let me ask you a question, a simple question, just so you understand a little bit better, right? Or so I can explain it a little bit better. A trend line, right? Because this is volume. It's just like a trend line, all right? If that makes sense. It's a concept. It's just how that data works around every single time. A trend line will always be a trend line. It doesn't matter if you do a trend line on the 4 hours or if I go to it 3 minutes. It's not going to be the same trend line. That is important. It's not going to be the same trend line, but a trend line will always be a trend line. It doesn't matter if we go to 3 minutes, to 5 minutes, 15 minutes. All right. Having said that, the volume behavior will also be the same volume behavior, not the same zones, if that makes sense. Not the same zones, but the same volume behavior. That means you can apply it in 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, daily, 3 days, 4 days, so on and so forth. The difference, and this is what I want to make that big parenthesis, because I think this is going to answer your question, or what lays below or underneath that question is volatility per time frame. The lower you go, the more volatility you're going to get on smaller areas. The more volatility you're going to get on smaller areas, all right? That is just the way it happens on smaller time frame. Which means that a trend line can be much more reactive on lower time frames than in higher time frames. That is not more reactive, doesn't mean more profitable, because in higher time frames you're looking like 20% movements, like I don't know, 10% movements, 5% movements, while in lower time frame you're looking at 4% movements, 3% movements, 1% movement, right? If that makes sense. So just so you, let's just say, calibrate, right, your perspective in the market, because when we talk about percentage, remember each coin has its own percentage equations, so be aware of that. Perfect, great. Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, I've been in, I've been teaching for a long time, so I answered your question straight, and then I answer what I think you might be asking. But great to know, great to know. By the way, if you have any other question, please, please, please ask them. That's what I'm here for. All right, and I'll give you the nerdy answer. Also, you can choose. You can tell me, give me the nerdy or not nerdy answer. I'll try my best not to give you the nerdy answer if you don't want it to. All right, so yeah, short question, it works in every time frame. Let's go now, and let's do it. Let's do it. Why not? This is that's what we're here for, right? Let me clear this up, and let's do it once again. If you zoom out enough, you're gonna be seeing that you cannot really read this. So there is another tip for you, my friend. It is zooming till your brain, right? Because every brain is different. Every brain is different, which means that you're gonna be perceiving different stuff. Like, for example, I've seen people going like this, and they go, "Hey, yeah, that worked for me. Like, I can read here this." Like they see this, they see this, they see this, and I'm working my brain very hard right now, just so you know. And they go like fast, lightning fast, and doing so. But when I actually look at this like from far, I just like I can't. I start overheating. I just can see this because I really tried. All right. But when my brain starts looking, oh, now when I'm zooming in like this, I see, oh, now things are much, much cleaner. Not only cleaner, easier for my brain to understand. Maybe for you it's a little bit more zoomed in. Who cares, right? Who cares? As long as you are able to read it. So keep that in mind. Every brain is different. Your perspective of reality will be slightly different. So adjust the indicators to match with what your brain sees, right? So there we go. For example, I see a big void in here, and let's mark it from the get-go to maybe we lost it here. And then after that, my brain sees, hey, another V-shaped recovery, and then I have another box. So I usually move it all the way, right? But my brain kind of like breaks it in two. So be aware that you might also have to, like look at once, look at second time, if that makes sense. All right, let's go and see it right now. Lower time frames, we are ranging. We have a V-shaped recovery, but we did not broke through higher meaningful highs. We haven't also broken through meaningful lows. In the 3 minutes, we are ranging, so we could be trading the range. Important, we are back in here. We have a possible reversal. So if we, for some reason, break through, we're looking for breakout retest. And this is where we bring up our, there we go, indicators. For example, here, how far could I go? Like this, because I have a resistance. And then maybe to this area right here, maybe lower, bouncing here, you see that? And then maybe something around here, and easy peasy. Now you have a possible scenario. Where do you jump in? I'm seeing right now that is forming a goose head. A goose head, maybe you don't know this, but that is going a little lower. That's fine because I already have my support zone in here. Also, if you turn on the other support resistances, let's zoom in. We have our predictive ranges, and we have a allowed order block. So areas of entry, either right now, you can take the risk, long position. For example, I'm not going to be taking this trade, just so you know. Long position, and your stop loss needs to be accordingly. You're not going to be doing this, all right? You could be going to half of it right here or a little bit lower like that. And then where are you going to be aiming? To your first target right there. Can you get stopped out? Yes, you can. If you get stopped out, well then, you're waiting once again for that flip of the ribbon, just like this one, or like this one, or like this one, or like this one, or like this one. If you noticed, This one in here is very close to this one right there. But also, this is what I'm not taking this straight. All right, this is what I'm not taking this straight. This one right here looks like a goose head. Let me invert it just so you see. Invert scale. That looks like a goose head. For example, this one right here. Tell me if you also can see it. It looked like a goose head with a little eye, their little peak. You see that? And then ended up going lower because this is inverted. All right. So let's invert it back. You see, this is a goose head, an inverted goose head, which means slide pulling up and continuation lower. Slide pulling up, continuation lower. That's why I'm not taking this straight. That's what I told you. Do you have an entry? Yes, but the goose head usually indicates slide pulling up for a continuation lower. And look at that. We're going low. We're going low. So what is my next entry? At big support. We already have an alert in here. We have a loud order block. We have a predictive range in there. So a much better entry zone is going to be right somewhere around here. So let's just give it some time for it to go lower, have that order overbought, have that boxes of overbought, see that flip of the ribbon, you enter on the way up, and off you go to your next target, if that makes sense. Yeah, Perry, what's up, brother? What your prediction about holiday in 6th of August? Well, I don't think that we're gonna be doing great on August. My prediction is that depending on how I cannot make a prediction right now because the data is not there. I need my way of the way that I learn how to predict these models, right? And you can have many ways, but the ways that work for me, I need it right away or right before data. So I need to see how we're going on, for example, August. So you mentioned August? Oh, you mentioned September, right? 6th of, but holidays in 6th. Do we have holidays on 6th of August? I thought you were referring September, October. All right. So yeah, we do have that data. I think we're going low. I thought you were one more in here. I don't know. My brain just broke. But since we already have the data, I think we're going low. Let me show you why. And we have talked about this, right? Daily, and everything is gonna work based on both Bitcoin and macroeconomy. Let me just get rid of this, and look at that. And that goes on. Look at the date. Look at the date right down here. Look at the date right down here. I'm expecting that this happens on August 4th, 6th. You see that? So yeah, if that answers your question, that is because we've been hovering in here. Usually when we hover for a long time, we have that dip. When we hover for a long time, we have a dip, right? When we hover for a long time, we have a dip. In this case, we hover that long that we have not only one dip, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 dips, right? And I think that's what's going to happen here, having a dip. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And there's when you got 100x all in. Love it, bro. But no, don't go 100x. Don't go all in. But I got it. I love it. I don't have this. I don't have this stream. What? What do you mean, my friend? You don't have the stream? Normal now. Oh, so we buffered, maybe. Thank you for that, Daga DT. Gary, what's the efficiency and probability of success with the loud order blocks? That's unknown. That's absolutely unknown. For me, I could tell you like a 90%, but that's a completely unknown. And let me explain to you why. When you open your broker, you're gonna be seeing. Let me see if I can have this 1 second. Minings order. Let's get to image. All right. Yeah, I think so. When you open up your broker to your right, like for example in here, right when you execute your stuff, you're going to be seeing an order book. What is an order book? When you open up your order and you set buy long, right? An order opens depending on the price point that you set. For example, right here we can see at 37 there is 32K, right? Or 32 orders, whatever. So when you open up an order in spot or in leverage, you open up a order book. So it's added to the book. As you can see, sometimes you're going to have much larger peaks in here, all right, which are, and also you can bring this up in another view, another perspective, which are your order.
Hey there, so in this video,
Let me just bring it up here. This one right there. Which this right here is this right here. And where you're going to be seeing that there's more people buying in the same zones. This is an order wall. This is an order block, if that makes sense. All right. So look at this order block. It's much, much higher at the same price zone, right? So this could be, look at, for example, this itty bitty one. This could be a, I know, a soft order block because it's softer. It is not as big. It doesn't have that much volume. While this one, it's a loud order block because a loud order block is very, very strong, right? It's very loud. Look at that. It's disturbing the actual curve. In a perfect scenario, we should have no loudness and we should have a very mainstream curve, exactly the same on both cases scenarios. This is also telling you that we have much bigger much bigger buyers and much more buyers in the market than we have sellers. Another important thing, it is like, for example, if you look at your parallel area right here, we have nobody selling at this block. You see that? So that's why the price bounces up all the way to try to get more sellers up above. If that makes sense. All right. So having said that, that is where your order blocks come in. Like, let me bring them up in here. Let me hide my spaghetti. And let's bring up, those are not order blocks. Those are liquidity. There are my order blocks. Let's go to another cleaner chart, for God's sake. All right, much better. You also see, there you go, that disparity on the curve. Remember, one curve was higher and the other curve was smaller. You see that? But at the same zone, at the same price, there are sellers and there are buyers, if that makes sense. So what happens here? Trying to answer your question. What is the rate of success, right? Unknown. What is it? Unknown. Because I can go right now, this exact same second, and set an all-in 100K or 100x leverage position right, I don't know, at 105. And then you'll see a huge, loud order blocking here. All right. Let me just get rid of this so we have it right here. Because I set up a huge amount of money, right? Right in here. What's going to happen? If it comes back down, right? And it's about to hit this, I just go into my broker and delete my position. I said, you know what? I no longer want to buy there. What happens? You have all of that liquidity coming down and there is no one to buy it in there. So out of nowhere, the order block disappeared. It went, it boofed, it vanished, right? And that has nothing to do with the indicator per se. It has to do with the people, persons, institutions buying and selling at that zone. If they decide just to close their position before it's taken, That's on their hands, right? That's on their hands. So did that order block played out? No. But then if we turn on the other order blocks, right, you'll see that there's another one. So maybe it comes in here and boom, we bounce from it. What happened at that point? That was a successful order block. Another thing that will happen with order blocks, and this is important, look at the difference between the order blocks. 47 to 53. Is there a lot of difference in here? Or is there's not much of a difference? I mean, compared to this other high order block between 17 and 83. So you can deduct that in here there's 47, let's just call it, I don't know, 47 sellers and 53 buyers. Some of those sellers are going to close their positions without taking money. And some of those buyers are going to close their positions without taking any money, if that makes sense. So what we can expect in here is not a huge pump, but a little bit of a fight between those two, and then ended up pushing upwards because it's highly bullish, if that makes sense. Right here, for example, since we have more bullish, way much more bullish, yes, we could be going lower, but then smaller or a shorter range, and then also a push through the upside. So will that explain why there's no actual way to measure the success rate of it? Because that depends on the instant closing and open orders of people, institutions, retail, so on and so forth. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, setting them, looking at them right here on the candles, that makes you a way better understanding where people are buying and selling, right? Where's the interest in there? So yeah, if they don't disappear, I would give them a rating out of like 75, 80% rate. And that happened yesterday to me. In fact, yesterday on the hackers Discord, I was trying to long the dip, man. And dude, I was so freaking pissed because I was longing the top part of the order block, and I did not realize. Well, I was expecting it, but did not realize at the moment that all of the shorts were at the top part of that order block, and then the longs were right below. So I was long in this part, and then as soon as I just have a limited capital, right? So I just said, what the daily time on, okay, delay time. Not sure what's the delay time. It has to do with how fast with TradingView will update. Will update the brokers' data. Some react faster, some react later on. In my experience, Binance is the most active one, along with Coinbase and Bitstamp. All the other ones take a little longer. But yeah, I mean, at the end of it all, you just look at it as a support and resistance. All right, let me go back and show you what happened. For example, yesterday, let me see. I was right here. Yep. And order blocks. There's no order block here. Let's do a replay. We had a huge order block way down there. Oh yeah, but it was in the 5 minutes. Come on, where is that order block? I don't see the order block at this point. Where is it? But it was right there on the recording. I actually got it recorded. But there was an order blocking here, and then it just we went straight to it, but we only grabbed the center of the order block and then bounced. Don't know why is it not showing here, or am I just in the wrong area? Maybe I'm just in the wrong area. All right, but that's just the basis on how. Well, it's a little bit of an advanced way on how the order blocks work. Yep. All right, guys. So I think that's gonna be it for today's class. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day, guys. We're going to the weekend. I know this is not maybe what you want, where you wanted to, have it pump. All right, but remember, hey, one way, what's up, brother? Hey, Chief Crypto, what's up, guys? How is it going? All right, great. Hey, Anax1, what's up, bro? Welcome. And also, of course, double shout out to Daga DT. Welcome, my friend. All right, guys, thank you so much for jumping in today. Be careful this weekend. Data numbers are not looking good. All right, job numbers not looking good, so on and so forth. But big movement to the downside comes with bounces to the upside also. All right, which means we could be seeing a bounce to the upside, but be careful because I don't think that is going to be a long-lasting bounce to the upside. I think it's going to be just a retracement for the further move to the downside, and that's where we already have it. All right, we remember our setups for entering are 110, 113, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 113, 110, and finally 106. So just so you know, I will be placing orders at 106 and 110. Just in case we have a very quick movement to the downside, I will be able to grab some spot Bitcoin for that. Other than that, Alex, hey, what's up? Excellent order block explanation. Many thanks. Many thanks to you, my friend, for jumping in. Really appreciate you liked it. If you have any questions, also remember to bring them onto the classes. That's what we're here for, and I'll try to do my best to explain to you guys how things work. First time in the class, thank you for all of your information. My pleasure. Keep assisting to the classes. Great to have you around here. And also, any questions that you may have, remember, this is where you can ask them, and I'll show you real time how they work. And if we have a prediction, we'll do that prediction. Also, you can request any coins that you may like. And it is not strictly Bitcoin. We can do any other stuff, right? So as long as it's on TradingView, we can chart it. So guys, thank you so much for joining. And as always, see you guys on Monday. See you guys. Have a great weekend.